Yo, what's good, man? I'm Logan. Welcome to another episode of Spicy Goodness. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own homemade spicy seasoned salt. I absolutely love making hot sauces, but I also love making homemade seasoned salts. You use really any kind of peppers you want for this recipe. I'm going to be using jalapeños and a couple of my homegrown serrano peppers that I have. I'm just going to be throwing in a yellow onion, have some ground cumin, a whole head of garlic, citrus notes with this clementine. I'm going to zest it. If you have a dehydrator at home, this method will absolutely work, but not everybody has one. But most people have an oven that goes to a low enough temperature to be able to dry out all these ingredients. Right, so first I'm going to take the jalapenos and then just top them. I love these knives, man. It's sharp. Nice. I have a little bowl for scraps that get tossed in compost a little bit later on. Cut the pepper in half. In this particular instance, I don't want to have the seeds in my salt. It's easiest to use your paring knife and scrape that placenta out of there. Just cut around it and then drop everything into a mixing bowl. The seeds and the placenta in this instance don't really serve any purpose, so just get rid of them, right? Obviously, if you're sensitive to the capsaicin, then wearing rubber gloves would be pretty beneficial. It's kind of a tedious task to have to do, but you know, it's kind of a necessary one in this point in time. I don't really want to leave the seeds in there because it could give you like kind of an off flavor in the salt. Sometimes if you can't get them all out, then you just give the pepper a whack on the cutting board, it'll come right out. Okay, serrano peppers, same thing. It's gonna have a really nice, good balance of flavors in this. You got, you know, jalapenos, which have like little grassy tones to them. These are nice and sweet, spicy, right? Citrus, nice little acidity, citrus kind of tone with the zest of that, and then garlic and obviously onion gonna give it a good flavor too. Same thing with the serrano pepper. Have them. I like looking in the peppers themselves to make sure everything looks good, nothing's rotten, nothing's moldy. I love the bright red color of fresh serrano peppers when they ripen. It's so pretty. I find them to be a lot more delicious and spicy than any store-bought ones, right? You don't want to have any seeds on the cutting board when you go to actually cut ingredients because your knife could slip, you could cut yourself. It's no good. Rough chop, just break them down a little bit. I'm gonna toss them in a food processor here in a second. If you don't have a food processor, then you would actually have to cut these down into smaller pieces. Okay. Gotta always use a sharp knife when you're cutting peppers. Your knife should be sharp enough that whatever you're cutting, it should just go through like hot knife through butter, right? Scraping the knife blade on a cutting board could actually dull it prematurely, so bust out your bench scraper, yeah? Garlic, just gonna use the whole head of it. Crush the garlic on the cutting board. I'm not worried about keeping the cloves whole, so this is the quickest, most efficient way to do this. Otherwise, if you didn't smash the garlic, split it open like this, and you'd probably spend the rest of the morning peeling the head of garlic. Ain't nobody got time for that, man. Something about the smell of garlic, dude, just really brightens your day, you know what I mean? Last thing, we got an onion. Really just rough chop this as well. I want to get the most out of the onion too, so just little cuts. Get that paper off. If you have a dull knife and you're trying to cut an onion, you're gonna be releasing more of those vapors into your eyes, into the air, right? And that's what kind of makes your eyes tear up, is the vapors coming off the onions, burns your eyes. Yeah, so having a sharp knife kind of helps with that. This, I'm just gonna cut it into eighths, I think. That'd be good. That's it. Never had a problem with onions make my eyes tear up when I used to wear contacts. Worthy little side note there. I think I actually want to put some fresh rosemary in there, so I'm gonna go take a little snip off my plant over here. We're back. Ooh. Rosemary, I love it, man. Technically, you can grab the top of it and carefully strip the leaves off and then just pick the ones on the very top. It's important to have a sharp knife when you're chopping herbs too, because you can bruise the leaves and damage the leaves, and that's not good. 2 passes, really, that's it. Okay, microplane zester, all right? Grab this orange. You could do lime, lemon, grapefruit. The recipe is more of like a guideline, really. You could change the peppers you want to use. You could do different kind of citrus. You could throw apple in there. You could throw tomatoes in there, just whatever. As long as it gets dried out and you're gonna be able to grind it up into a powder, that's it. A good recipe, very adjustable, very customizable, you know what I mean? So the whole point of this is to process the ingredients really quickly, to just kind of break it down to like a pulp. Makes it quicker to dry out. So this is a consistency really that you need to go for. It'd take forever by hand. Food processor makes it way easier. I like using parchment paper I'll buy this stuff because it's not bleached, and I could throw it in the compost bin later when I'm done with it. There we go. Okay, good. Man, that smells good. Put a little bit of vinegar and oil in there. That could be a nice little salsa too. You want to lay these flat pretty well because you want to have a nice single layer. So just lay it flat. You want to have a nice thin layer like that. Can make it dry out a lot quicker. Don't want anything to burn. So what you want to do next is throw this into the oven that's set to the lowest temperature that you can get to. Mine's 180 degrees, that's Fahrenheit. And that's gonna go for 3, 4, maybe 5 hours, okay? Kinda just gotta look at it. If you notice it drying out in spots quicker, then you can kind of mix the ingredients up, rotate the pan just to kind of accommodate for, you know, any kind of hot pockets you might have in the oven. Nothing's overlapping, and just really keep an eye on it. You want it to be nice and dry so that when it cools off, and you want to break it with your hands, it's going to be able to snap. You know what I'm saying? We want it to be completely dry because we want to grind it in a spice grinder into a fine powder, right? So you can't grind it up if it has any kind of moisture in it. After this, it's smooth sailing, really. It's all unmanaged time, and the hardest part is just waiting for it to be done. Yeah? So I'm going to start with 3 hours. I'm going to check it after an hour and then every hour consecutively after that, just to kind of make sure everything is nice and happy and everything's drying out equally.
As I mentioned a little bit earlier, I like to check on the progress after an hour of the drying out process. Use your hands, use your fingers, and just kind of give everything a feel. Rotate the pan if you need to do so, and put it back in the oven. After about hour 2 and 3, you'll notice a color difference in the ingredients also. It'll look a little bit duller, if that makes sense, and colors will start to be slightly brown. I'm using a fork right here just to kind of fluff up the ingredients and maneuver everything around and placing it back in the oven. After about 4, maybe even 5 hours, you'll notice the ingredients start to be dry, and if you grab a pinch of it in your finger, it'll start to crumble, and that's a very great sign. Now that all those ingredients are perfectly dried out, I'm going to place all those ingredients into a mixing bowl. The parchment paper makes it easy to transfer, and if you need to use a fork to scrape the ingredients off of the parchment paper, that makes your life a whole lot easier too. Now we're going to go from the mixing bowl into a spice grinder. You need to do this in batches depending on the size of your spice grinder, and as you're blending these up, do your best not to breathe in the dried out powder because that's going to really irritate your throat and your sinuses, and you'll start coughing and sneezing, and it's not very fun actually. Once you got everything ground into a powder, I like to measure everything out just to see how much of this powder that I got. I do this because I want to go a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 parts salt, 1 part spicy powder. Once you got that measured out, place it back into the mixing bowl along with 1 teaspoon of cumin, and then go in with the salt. After the salt, add half a teaspoon of freshly cracked black pepper. That's about 30 turns worth on the pepper mill. Whisk it together to combine.
So I really like how the salt turned out. Literally just gotta lick your finger and taste it. I definitely would not add anything else to that. That has such a perfect flavor. All around, this is a really well-developed salt. Has a nice amount of saltiness to it, perfect amount of heat. Got those jalapeños you could taste the garlic, orange zest in there. Taste the serrano, you could taste the onion. Perfectly balanced between salty, spicy, and then all the rest of the ingredients. Dinner time, I'm going to fire up my charcoal grill. This salt is banging for that. You can go as heavy-handed with the salt as you want. I like to season my chicken pretty well. It's gonna get good flavor from the charcoal grill. That's about that. Has a nice amount of heat to it. Goes good on beef, vegetables that you're gonna roast off. You could put it on scrambled eggs or fried eggs in the morning. That's really how I like to start my day, is a nice fried egg with some of my homemade spicy seasoned salt right on it, and it's just a fantastic way to use that. I really haven't tried it with fish, but if you make this salt and you put it on a halibut or like a piece of trout, let me know how it goes, right? Because I want to know, because I'm not really a huge seafood eater, but if you are, put it on some fish, put it on some scallops, put it on some shrimp, and let me know how it goes, right? I like keeping my salts in a mason jar. As long as you have a nice sealed lid on it, this should stay really good indefinitely, but the best flavor will be within 3 months of you making it. Anything after that, I mean, the salt's still good, it just won't be as robust in flavor. It'll kind of mellow out a little bit. You know, salt doesn't necessarily go bad, and all the ingredients in this are dried out and covered in salt. That's about it. I'm gonna fire up my charcoal grill and just kind of get dinner going on. This salt came out fantastic. Spicy goodness, baby.